Hey guys, so today has been an amazing day. This whole week has been insane. Oh man. So crazy running a shop. Yeah, it's Monday. It's 7 o'clock and it just randomly went from like, I don't know, 8 people down to 0. And I imagine that as it gets later, it's going to explode and there's going to be more. Yeah, things have been going nuts because, goodness, like we had all of our bills come in at once, and you guys have been a part of this story. You've been tracking with it. We have been just kind of like raising support and other stuff like that. It's been fantastic. And we got to a place where like the rent here was due, the rent at the house is due, the car is due, the electric for here was due. And so in one day we had, I don't know, like maybe $2,000 to work with and about $4,000 in bills, you know, and all due the same day. And so the cool thing about it is that I just kind of went into that place where I was just like, okay, God, this is, you know, a ridiculous situation. How do I manage that? You know, $4,000 in bills and everything's been pushed. Like, you know, the rent has been pushed, asked for delays, other things like that. And now we're at the day where like literally. And so we come in and we meet with the property manager. And I just felt like that day God specifically said like, you know, just make sure that you pay the rent on the store. And I was like, okay. And that was also the same day that they were going to cut off the electric for the store. So, but I also wanted to pay the rent for the house that we're in and also cover the car so it doesn't get repossessed. The fun of owning a small business. And at the same time, like while we're going through these financial struggles, this place is blowing up. I mean, you guys have seen the pictures. It's a lot of fun. So that's what's funny is like normally, you know, it's this idea of like, oh man, if your store's going crazy and everybody's in there, then it's doing well. And it is doing well. It's just not doing well. Oh man, there's a lot going on. But it is sustainable and we're going to keep going after it. So what do you do when you get into a situation where like you feel panic? Oh my gosh, I've pushed the line far enough and now I have $4,000 in bills and only $2,000 to work with. And people are going to start giving eviction notices or shutting things off or literally repossessing things and taking things away. And to be honest with you, I just went into a place of just spending time in God's presence. Like, what do I do? Because when me and my wife got together, we were like, hey, we're going to pay the rent on the house. We're going to cover the electric on the store so that the lights are on. And we're going to take whatever we have left over. And we're going to go, what that would have been, you know, $1,000 in rent and like $400 for the car. That would have left us with like $600. And instead of having $1,500 for rent, we were going to come in here and just hand us a check with $600 and just say, hey, realistically, this is where we're at. This is all we have. And this is what we can do. And if you want to shut us down, you have to. We totally understand. It's a business. You have to make money. But I went into my prayer closet, which is literally my closet, and spent time with God, and I felt like He said, hey, get that $1,500 check and take it to the property manager. And I was like, how are we going to afford anything else? But in the end, you either say yes or you waste time and say yes, you know. So I went to the bank and I talked to my wife, told her about it, and she knows. I mean, we're both in that place of when God says to do, and we kind of weigh it out and work it out and other stuff like that. We go after it. So went and got the check, came and sat down, and it was amazing because when I did sit down, that meeting was really good. My property manager is fantastic, phenomenal guy, amazing, incredibly flexible. But I could tell that day that he was stretched and he couldn't really go any further if we didn't have at least a month to hand him, you know. Because as a property manager, you know, you don't want to get into a situation where you're an investor in businesses that you rent to unless it's intentional, you know. I mean, you're already kind of partnering with them because you're giving them space, but to start to fund them. And that's the thing about delaying rent is you're basically kind of funding the business and loaning them, and you may never get it back, and it's difficult. So I'm glad I had that check as I cut it for him, and all we had left was, and then I was sitting there and I felt like after the meeting was done, everything was done, God was just like, hey, you have just enough left over. You need to cover the electric on the store. And I was like, okay. So I did that, and we were down to low, and I was like, well, at least the store's up for another month. You know, we're working, we're spreading the word, we're marketing, we're doing all this other stuff. The GoFundMe's still up. Who knows what can happen? You know, but, you know, we've got our car and our rent due, you know. So we called the car people, and we said, hey, can you extend, you know, the car payment, you know, direct deposit or whatever, it'll come out on this day. And they said, sure. You know, just a couple days leeway over the weekend. And, you know, then I called my other property manager and said, hey, you know, I'm expecting more to come in because we were expecting to have a big week here at the store, and I should be able to do everything there. Well, really nothing happened. Friday was a big day, sale day wise and everything. But now it's Monday. The car could literally be repossessed right now. It's sitting out in front. And I'm hoping that I have enough sales today and other stuff like that that I can actually call them and say, hey, I hope you didn't hire a tow company. Here's my payment, and we have the car again for another month. But then there's the house, and the problem with the house is that it's been about $1,000 in rent, and then because we're in a modular prefab house, which I never knew before what they were like, it does not. It basically it's insulation and stuff like that. The heating is done with space heaters, basically. The cooling of the place is done with swamp coolers, which are those in-window coolers, and it's been about $400 a month to regulate the temperature on the place because it's either too hot and muggy and swampy in there, or it's frigid. So, I mean, $400 a month in electricity, just electricity, is just inconceivable. So, a year ago when we moved into the house, we were new to Redding. We didn't have jobs and all this other stuff. The house was a godsend. It was a miracle. And as the electric started to increase, we were just like, oh. But we were like, well, let's just be thankful. Let's be grateful. Let's not complain. And now that we're a year into it, we're at a spot where we're like, we're not complaining at all. But also it doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to stick with it. So in order to continue going after the store, called the property manager today and said, hey, we're considering not renewing our lease unless we can get a rent decrease. Because realistically, if we're paying $400 in electricity and it's because the house isn't insulated, then we want to see the rent decrease about $300, which I just don't see how that would happen. From a property manager, he might end up taking a loss on just paying his mortgage at that. So who knows, you know. But we pay like $950 for a 3-bedroom house rental, and to see that go down to $650 would make it so that we could continue to stay there. But, you know, then our electric would offset that and whatever. And then getting a $400 electric bill wouldn't be so bad because we're saving $300 on rent. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But you don't know unless you ask. So we put that out there. But then we also said, you know, if that can't really happen, which you totally understand, they are amazing property managers, incredible, wonderful. I mean, they rescued us when we just moved out here. Phenomenal. And we've worked really hard to be transparent with them, worked really hard to be transparent with the property manager here in the building. Transparency really helps because when you're transparent with people, either they are going to end up working with you because they realize that you're being vulnerable, so they'll open up and be vulnerable, or they won't be vulnerable and they'll use your transparency to take advantage of you, which is great. Because usually by the first time that you're transparent with somebody, there's not too much on the line, and if you find out right off the bat people are going to use my transparency and my vulnerability to take advantage of me, well, at least you haven't been in the relationship for 5 years and put everything on the line. You know to hit the eject button. But our property managers here at the building and here at the house have been phenomenal. And we've got our housemate Mike staying with us, and we've got one of our friends, Eric, that's staying with us. But hitting the eject button on that, I think, is actually the reality. And so I called the property manager today. I said, hey, this is where we're at, starting a business. We're hoping it grows. It's doing well, but it's still at a spot where doing the rent and doing the electricity on this place every month is insane. You know, insane. Just insane. Because we were in a 2-bedroom apartment in Frisco, Texas for $1,500 a month. And to be in a 3-bedroom house in Shasta Lake, California, which is nowhere, and it's not even that big of a house, and have rent and utilities be about $1,500 is just not real. That's just not a thing. So me and Cora are considering the idea of maybe going into an apartment here in Reading, and that would make our rent stable, that would drop our rent, that would make our utilities affordable again dramatically. Also, it would mean that we split up the house, and that Mike goes his own direction and Eric goes his own direction. We're all on good terms. We all love each other. It's crazy good. But these are the kinds of things that I deal with just this week. But the thing that has held me together is these are impossible situations that, you know, once you get through them, it makes sense and it's easy. You know, like today, I had no answer for what I was going to do today. And I felt like God really wasn't giving me direction because I was just supposed to kind of wait it out and trust. And it wasn't till this morning that I woke up and talked to my other housemate, Eric, that he had the idea. What if you just walked away from the house? On good terms, pay your bills, all the other stuff, but what if you just gave it up and moved into something smaller because you guys just don't need it? You've got the store, so there's all this stuff. And we're like, yeah. We're pretty much just using a place to sleep because we're working so much. So, what if we got an apartment near Civic Center for when I go to first year, and also near the store here because the Civic isn't too far away from here, so it would cut our commute down. And so yeah, that's where we're at today. And so I could have held on to what was in the account financially to cover the car costs tonight. But, man, why do the YouTube videos always get loud and they're like 3-minute videos now? It's ridiculous. Like, it used to be just a 10-second video, and now they're like 3-minute videos you have to skip. So anyways, the idea is I'm going to go turn this down real quick because it got loud. Okay, so King of the Hill, so good. So so today, you know, I'm like, man, I need like $450 for the car. I had like $290 in the account, and then I had to make the decision. Okay, since I have $290 in the account, and we're out of magic cards, which we need magic cards because people buy magic cards like crazy every day. It's like Taco Bell being out of tacos. I was like, well, I've got to go put $100 into cards. So I went and I got another booster box, 100 or so or whatever, you know, amount. I'm just rounding it to 100. And that took me further away from being able to make the car payment. You know, I mean, it's like I'm coming in here and I'm like, well, I just spent money that I need for the car on cards, so hopefully we have customers come in today and actually buy these and replace it. And luckily they have. You know, we had, you know, like $80 and then $20, stuff like that. So I've recouped that 100 back already today, which is great. And I still have cards. So that's fantastic because, you know, that's just great. I love that. And it's Monday, and it's weird because it's 7:19 and there's not really many people in here, and usually our Mondays are pretty busy. But whether our Mondays are busy or not, they're big sale days, which is really cool. And so I posted an event tonight, Magic Popper Tournament, 7 o'clock. No one showed up for that. But we're going to see about doing it a little bit later and maybe dropping it down to just a couple bucks instead of $5, dropping it down to like $2 and having it just be a really chill event. But today's normally packed full of people, and for some reason it's just quieter. And I know that it's not because it's not going on. It just feels like summer is a unique animal that I'm trying to figure out because people are wanting to be outside more and they're wanting to do stuff like that. So, yeah, those are the things that I'm dealing with right now. And to be honest with you, I love where I'm at in life. Regardless of, you know, if I end up moving and finding an apartment and moving in the next couple weeks or what, you know. And does that mean that we get to keep our pets or not? You know, I know we could keep the dog here at the store and he could live here. But what about the cat? Because she'd get into stuff, and so we don't really know. It's complicated, you know. Am I going to have to get rid of my cat and move into an apartment in a couple weeks, and I wasn't even thinking about it yesterday. It wasn't even an option on the table. And what are we going to do to expand our inventory, you know, to get more deck boxes and sleeves and, you know, all of this other stuff, you know. But I am grateful because it's a great store. We have cards today. We have a fridge full of sodas and full of drinks, which is great. We have people that love being here. We have more and more people getting passes every day. And slow days like this are deceiving. Because even though it's 7 o'clock on a Monday right now, and the store is literally empty, the rest of the week just explodes when there's events and there's other stuff like that going on. So I think Saturdays are going to be a pizza party, $5 pizza party, you know, like order pizzas and $5 buy-in and have people do, you know, get 2 slices of pizza and a soda, you know, and hopefully we'll have enough going there that we'll do good. And it's actually pretty awesome to be here. I mean, I could have any other job. I could be doing any other thing right now. And even though this is somewhat stressful, it's really teaching me how to not be stressed out. You know, it's really teaching me how to not be stressed out. So it's fantastic, and I love it, and it's amazing, and I hope it gets better. But I'm learning a lot, and the education I'm getting is phenomenal. And I look forward to doing BSSM first year. And I've been sharing the gospel more here in the store just through sharing our story. Oh, and that's one of the ways I've been doing it is instead of just like the way I share the gospel here in the store is I just tell them the story. I'm like, man, the reason I opened the store is because I grew up in a religious background where they said Dungeons and Dragons was witchcraft. But then I got my own relationship with Jesus, and there's nothing but like freedom in him. And so I learned that a lot of the stuff that people were putting on me was just religion, and it was garbage, and it wasn't even true or scriptural. And so I just came back into this stuff, and now I just do this stuff, and I love people, and, you know, I just get to be Jesus to people. And it's like, that's the gospel. You know, I'm not talking about Jesus dying on a cross, coming back from the grave, all that stuff, because people have heard that a million times. A million times. A lot of the people that I deal with in here were in church. What they need to have is a paradigm shift of Jesus and hear that there's freedom. That it's because of Jesus that I ended up gaining freedom and am able to play D&D, rather than it's because of him I gave all of it up. And that he's not religious, you know, and so that's been really cool. But I'm excited to be doing these videos more. I'm not really broadcasting this channel. This is just kind of like my diaries. I'm really vulnerable here. You know, just talking about what it's like to be in a store, and maybe, you know, down the road more and more people kind of chime in. It ends up being an underground speakeasy of me being vulnerable about owning a shop and running things and other stuff like that. It's dangerous to be vulnerable like this. I mean, I'm talking to you guys about finances. I'm talking about all this other stuff. But in my opinion, truth speaks. You know, I might find out down the road, oh, I shouldn't be doing these videos because it gets taken the wrong way or whatever, or people use it. But in all reality, truth speaks. And I think if you watch these videos, you end up gaining a lot from them, because whenever I hear people be in successful positions being vulnerable, I end up really just going that much further in life. So I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to have my new little microphone here. I got this little blue snowball thing, and so hopefully my voice quality has been better. And yeah, I'm just really excited for what's next, and I'm surprised because, you know, $4,000 in bills and only $2,000 in solution, yet we're still here. The store's open for another month, the electric's paid for another month, the internet, all this other stuff. And the car's still here, and I believe that it's going to stay here. I really believe that we're going to be able to get it paid before it actually gets repossessed. And as for the house, I told the property manager exactly where we're at, and that they can expect a check from us in probably like 2 or 3 weeks or something when we get our another paycheck. And it's hard to go to people who you said, hey, I will cover this bill, and not be able to, because you feel like it's an attack on your integrity because you said you'd do something you didn't. But I've been learning to find grace in that area, because we are going after huge things, and we can't force people to pay us. You know, people can choose to, instead of eating here at the shop, eat at Taco Bell. And I understand why. I understand that they do. People can choose to go to our competitor to pick up stuff instead of special ordering it from us. And I get that. But we're looking forward to doing crazy, amazing things. And It's been awesome. I mean, the fact that we're still here and we're still going is incredible. And I want to make these videos so I can remember what it was like now. I am super blessed, and you guys are awesome, and I will talk to you some other time.